All right, the last type of quadratic form that we're going to learn about graphing is called intercept form. So basically, what does this look like to you? Yeah, it's just a quadratic that's been factored. So if I have my two factors, don't you, when you're solving a quadratic by factoring, don't you factor it, set each factor equal to 0, and then those two things tell you where it crosses the x-axis? That's basically where you're at. So here's the general form. It's y equals a, and then x minus p, and then x minus q. Why is it p and q? I have no idea. But p and q are your x-intercepts. That's all there is to it. So p and q are the two x-intercepts. So A does all the same things that it has been. Tells me up like a cup, down like a frown, wide or narrow. Yep.
Are we ever going to see anything where it's like y equals a and then just x minus p? Or even more p?
No. Well, then it would be a straight line because you wouldn't have an x squared. Yeah. All right. So P and Q. Let's look at this example. So notice that they're both minuses though. And it makes sense because normally when I'm solving, I'm setting each one equal to 0. So the solution to this is actually -3 and +1, right? 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 So +1 and -3 are where this thing crosses the x-axis. So I get those 2 points basically for free. Now, I can't look at this and just tell you where the vertex is, but I do know that it has to happen where? Yeah, it has to be halfway in between these two numbers. So you could FOIL this back together and do -b/2a, but why bother? It's just going to be halfway in between 1 and -3. So just add -3 and 1 together, that's -2, divide by 2, -1. So that means my vertex is somewhere along x equals -1. So vertex, halfway between x-intercepts. So you can do p plus q divided by 2. All right, whatever those two values are, add them together, divide by 2, and that will get you the x-coordinate. So equals x-coordinate of vertex. All right, so I have it as -1 comma something, and then just like before, once I have the x, I can find the y by doing what? Plug it in. So I'm going to take -1. I just plug it into both of them because they're both x's. So I'm going to have negative, and then -1 plus 3, and -1 minus 1. So let's see. -1 plus 3 is 2. -1 minus 1 is -2. That's -4. Take the opposite of that. +4. Does everybody agree? Or no? Did I mess up? I plugged in -1 for x in both spots. That's 2. So -4 times the -1, +4. So -1 comma 4. Looks like this parabola is going to be facing down. Is that what we expect? Yeah, because a is negative. So everything is kind of falling into place. Since it's negative, I can do my, and a is 1, so I can just go down 1/1. Next one would be down 3/1, but it's already there. Looks like I have a nice parabola. So each form has their good and bad parts. I can find the x-intercepts really easy with this one. There's a little bit of work to find the vertex, but it's not too bad. So what do you think? Easy? Let's try, I think there's one on the back. Try number 8. So you want to start by finding those two x-intercepts. Just remember that it's like you're solving those quadratics. So
How would you find like the second set of points? You just plug in any number.
yeah, you can. Where does this thing cross the x-axis? Positive 2 and positive 6, right? Right? Good. So that's my starting point. Positive 2, positive 6 crossing the x-axis. I know the vertex has to be halfway in between those two, so it's got to be at 4 comma something. I just don't know what the something is, so I'm going to plug in 4 and see what I get out. Well, 4 minus 2 is 2. 4 minus 6 is negative 2. Negative 4? Is everybody in agreement? So 4, negative 4. And before I even keep going, I just ask myself, is this shaping up to look like it's supposed to? Because if I had messed up and gotten 4 positive 4, that would have been an upside down parabola. I'm like, oh, I know that shouldn't be. So always just make sure that your dots are falling in line with what you expect. I'm expecting an up like a cup parabola. Looks good so far. Since A is just 1, from that point I can go up 1 over 1. Up 3 over 1, it's already there. That's a good looking parabola. So that's about all there is to it. There's graphing in intercept form. Pretty easy. Okay. The only other thing that I want to talk to you about is when we make them inequalities. It's the same as every other time, though. We just worry about dotted or solid line and then shading. So let's say, actually 10 is a great one. If I'm looking at 10, I notice right away that I can actually factor this. Can't you factor that? Can I take out an x?
Yeah.
That is an intercept form. Where is that thing crossing the x-axis? Negative 4 and 0. Right? It's just that p is 0, because why would it ever say x minus 0, right? It wouldn't. So one of my intercepts is at 0, the other is at negative 4. So 0, negative 4. By the way, what would it look like if the vertex is going to be on the x-axis? What would these look like? These two. They'd be the same. It'd be like x plus 3 and x plus 3. They both cross at negative 3. Get it? So this is different though. There, one of them's crossing at 0, one's crossing at negative 4. All right. Anyway, so I have those two. So my vertex has to be negative 2, and it doesn't mean you can plug negative 2 in here or here. It's the same function, right? All I did was factor out an x. So take, because it's halfway in between negative 4 and 0. So that'll be 4 minus 8, negative 4. I'm sorry. Again, I hate that they give all the answers away by putting the grid like this, so you know you're going to be in this quadrant. But anyway, when I go to, let's see, A is 1, so if you want to put dots here and here, you can. How should I connect my dots? Dotted line, because I don't have that bar underneath, right? So dotted line.
Is it still like a U?
Uh-huh. And which way am I going to shade? Yep, below. So everything below that parabola. That's it. So if you find a quadratic that's easy to factor, I think it's easier to graph it in intercept form than it is in standard. My personal opinion. It's up to you, it doesn't matter. If it's in standard, you can always find the vertex negative b over 2a and work through it that way. But if it's something that you notice is factorable, why not? Yep. Oh. So, do you know how I got the negative 2? So it's halfway in between negative 4 and 0. So I know that the vertex was going to be negative 2 comma something. So all I did was I plugged negative 2 in right here. So negative 2 squared is 4. And then 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. 4 minus 8 got me the negative 4. You don't have to plug that in at all. I just wanted, if I want the vertex, right? I know the vertex is going to be halfway between these 2 points. So the x coordinate is going to be negative 2. Okay, let's back up. Were you okay with me? So from the original, I can take out an x, right? So I rewrote it like this. I had x times x plus 4. Is that okay? So now this is telling me it's going to cross the x-axis at 0 and at negative 4. But now I need to figure out where my vertex is. Because remember, I don't know that yet. But I do know it has to, because everything's symmetrical, so it has to happen halfway in between those 2 points. I just don't know, is it going to be at negative 2 comma 1, negative 2, negative 1, negative 2, negative 2? I don't know. It's going to be at negative 2 comma something. So in order to find that something, I just have to take negative 2 and plug it back into my equation and see what comes out. So negative 2 squared is 4. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. So 4 minus 8, that's how I knew it was at negative 4, way down here. These 2 points, I plug in because I know the pattern when A is 1. From the vertex, you just go up 1 over 1 and up 1 back 1. But if you don't like that pattern, if you don't trust it, okay, that's fine. You can plug in negative 1 and see what comes out. If you plug in negative 1, negative 3 will come out. And then you can buy 1, get 1 free and mirror it over. Once I have my 5 points, I don't have a line underneath, so I'm going to connect them with a dotted line. And then y is less than, so a shade underneath. Is that all right? Yeah, everybody's okay? So let's just say I was looking at 9. 9 right now is in standard form. But I might try and see if I can turn it into intercept form. If it's easy enough, I don't know, I think it's easier. So I might first factor out a 2. X squared minus 6x plus 10. Are there factors of 10 that add to be negative 6? I don't think so. Nope. So I can't turn that one into intercept form, so maybe I just graph it like normal. Negative b over 2a and go from there. But if I look at 11, I think 11 I can factor. I would first factor out a negative 1. So you'd have x squared plus 4x plus 5. Oh, this one doesn't either. That would have to be a negative 5. Dang, I thought that it would.
So those both be a negative b over 2.
Yeah, you're going to have to. because you can't turn it into intercept form. And I don't think 12 you can either, because there wouldn't be factors of 6 that add up to be -6. Yeah. So it looks like 10 was the only one out of that group that could be factored. Okay, any questions on graphing with intercept form? Or any of the three? Standard, vertex, intercept? And so once I throw the inequality, that's okay too, right? Because it's similar. Just one more step. Make sure you're using solid or dotted and shade the right way. Ow. Okay, I have some for you to practice.